The UFC, and Tom, we all got a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. They're one of the biggest organizations in sports, and right now Tom and I have agreed to wait for the UFC to make their announcements. So I legally can't really talk about it.
Jon Jones has officially acknowledged that a matchup with Tom Aspinall is on the horizon. Meanwhile, Daniel Cormier weighed in on the situation, saying that Jones now finds himself facing a young, dangerous contender in Aspinall. According to Cormier, it's not that Jones is afraid, but there's likely just enough doubt to make him second-guess things. Cormier highlighted that one of Jones' main concerns could be the very real chance of getting knocked out. Aspinall brings serious power and speed to the table, making him a legitimate threat. A single, well-placed strike could potentially leave Jones unconscious, lying flat on the canvas. Cormier also speculated that Jones might not want to risk ending his legendary career with an image like that burned into fans' memories.
Now he's looking down at a young man, and it's like, he's not scared. Make no mistake about it. But I think it's enough to question it. And you know what I think a big worry might be for him? Because with Aspinall, he could potentially get knocked out. Legitimately knocked out and put on his back and out cold. And I just don't know that he wants to have that visual of him in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably nailed it around that.
Jon Jones recently shared that there's a lot happening behind closed doors involving himself, Tom Aspinall, and the UFC. He noted that the UFC, being a massive and influential organization in the sports world, is taking a cautious and strategic approach to the situation. According to Jones, he and Aspinall have already spoken privately and agreed to hold off on making any public statements until the UFC is ready to officially announce things. He also stressed that there are legal restrictions preventing him from disclosing specific details at this time. Jones acknowledged that fans are eager for updates, but made it clear that everything has to go through the proper channels. For now, it's a waiting game until the UFC decides to move forward publicly.
When are you fighting Tom?
I was waiting for it. Governor. The UFC, and Tom, we all got a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. They're one of the biggest organizations in sports, and right now Tom and I have agreed to wait for the UFC to make their announcements. So I legally can't really talk about it.
Additionally, Jon Anik shared his thoughts on when and where the much-anticipated showdown between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall might take place. He predicted that the fight is most likely to go down in December 2025, with Las Vegas's T-Mobile Arena being the top contender to host the event. Although Jones last competed and won at Madison Square Garden in New York back in November, Anik believes Vegas is a more fitting stage for a fight of this scale. He pointed out that the UFC tends to reserve its biggest matchups for year-end events in Las Vegas, where the energy, crowd size, and promotional potential are unmatched. While New York may hold personal significance for Jones, Anik emphasized that Las Vegas, often dubbed the fight capital of the world, is the more strategic and probable choice for what could be a defining clash in the heavyweight division.
Aspinall and Jones happen in 2025. What's your gut tell you?
Yeah, I think we see it December 2025. T-Mobile Arena, Dateline, Las Vegas.
Not New York. Why not New York?
Well, Jon Jones fought and won at Madison Square Garden in New York last November.
Dricus du Plessis had high praise for Tom Aspinall, commending his determination, sharp focus, and relentless drive to succeed at the elite level. At the same time, he acknowledged that Jon Jones may be approaching the final chapter of his storied career. Du Plessis mentioned that he hopes Jones gets the opportunity to retire on his own terms, with his legacy preserved and undiminished. He also expressed optimism that Aspinall could rise to the challenge and become a leading figure in the next generation of top-tier heavyweights. Still, du Plessis made it clear that Jones remains one of the most dominant forces the sport has ever known, a fighter who can dismantle elite opponents with remarkable ease. In his view, Jones stands as a true legend in the history of MMA.
Aspinall is young, he's hungry. You have Jones, who is definitely at the end of his career, 38 years old. I don't need to see this because he's never been beaten. I want Jon Jones to retire unbeaten, and I want him to retire, and Aspinall goes on to be the next big thing. But Jon Jones being the warrior that he says, pay me enough and I'm doing it. Aspinall wants it, and one of them has to lose that fight. And that's the one thing, you look at it and you go, Aspinall's probably going to win. But then, if you ask me that, I say, no. We've said that so many times with Jon Jones. and it makes it look easy. He is the greatest of all time, for sure.
Sean Ali recognized John Jones's incredible legacy and the profound influence he's had on mixed martial arts. However, he also issued a word of caution. Ali noted that a potential loss to Tom Aspinall could tarnish Jones's legacy, especially given the timing in his career. He explained that if Jones were to fall short, particularly now, after extended layoffs and as he nears the later stages of his fighting journey, some critics might attribute the loss to age or inactivity. While those explanations might be fair, Ali warned that they could still shape public perception and potentially impact how Jones is remembered among MMA's greatest icons.
Tom Aspinall? God damn. It's like everyone, it's like you risk going down as the, no matter what, you don't have to fight again. Greatest of all time, people will say that. You're the greatest of all time. Greatest of all time, John Jones. Or you risk it, go fight Tom Aspinall, possibly lose, and then it's like, he was the greatest. Then they're saying, yeah, but he wasn't in his prime.
Demetrius Johnson acknowledged Tom Aspinall's talent and potential, but expressed strong belief that John Jones would likely handle the matchup with relative ease. He shared that the idea of Jones facing Aspinall excited him more than a potential bout with Alex Pereira, predicting that Jones would likely dominate the fight from start to finish. Johnson also touched on the reported $30 million figure linked to Aspinall, suggesting that such a steep financial demand could pose challenges during negotiations and possibly delay or derail the fight altogether.
John Jones will smoke Tom Aspinall.
I don't know, man.
Man, he'll smoke Tom Aspinall.
Tom Aspinall is athletic. I think Tom Aspinall will try to take the fight to John Jones. And it'll be interesting to see. Like, I'd rather see that fight over Alex Pereira.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
I agree.
Like,
I would like to see that fight over Alex, but come on, man. Aspinall is a great fighter. Yep. He's a good champion.
Aspinall.
That's what I said. John Jones will smoke Aspinall.
Yeah.
Smoke him.
I can't wait to see. I hope it happens. That's the fight that needs to happen. I think Tom Aspinall versus John Jones needs to happen.
Why do you think there's so much friction there? Why do you think it's not happening? What? Because we see so much.
I think John Jones said he wants 30.
Frank Mir shared his perspective that John Jones would likely have a significant edge over Tom Aspinall in a potential matchup, primarily because of his superior wrestling and control on the ground. Mir explained that Jones has the skill set to neutralize Aspinall's jiu-jitsu by maintaining dominant positions and using ground and pound to systematically break him down. He acknowledged that a win over an up-and-coming talent like Aspinall would be notable, but emphasized that it wouldn't drastically alter how fans or analysts view Jones's legacy. In Mir's opinion, Jones has already solidified his place among MMA's all-time greats, and his status is unlikely to be affected by future wins or losses.
I think Tom might have the best chance of anybody to beat John right now. But that being said, I still think John wins the fight just because of his wrestling. I think he puts, Tom on his back and is able to nullify his jiu-jitsu for being top position with his elbows and control. What does John win to take that fight? He goes out there and beats Tom. Is it really going to make or break his career? I don't think anybody cares.
Bilal Muhammad shared his opinion that Tom Aspinall could present John Jones with the toughest challenge of his career. He highlighted Aspinall's unique blend of power, speed, and athleticism, traits that represent the evolution of the modern heavyweight fighter. Although Muhammad believes Jones still possesses the experience and skill set to come out on top, he stressed that a fight of this scale would only make sense if the financial reward matched the magnitude. He predicted that UFC President Dana White would strongly advocate for the bout, given its enormous potential to draw attention and revenue. However, Muhammad also speculated that Jones, who has already cemented his place in MMA history, might prefer a matchup with Alex Pereira unless the UFC is willing to offer a massive payout, possibly in the $30 to $50 million range.
If I'm John Jones, like a lot of people consider him the GOAT, the best fighter ever do it. The next hungry lion is Aspinall. It's probably the toughest fight that he'll have. Like, this guy's the next generation. He's a lot stronger, a lot faster. But I think John Jones is good enough to beat him. But it's like, it has to be worth it. The fans are fickle, right? You lose one fight, they're gonna, he sucks. Right? They just care about your last win or your last loss. I think Dana White and them will end up making it. Dana White's a smart businessman. He knows how much money that fight would make. If I'm John Jones, you've already done everything in the sport. It's not worth it unless it's that $30 million, $50 million payday. If I'm John Jones, I'm picking out Pereira first over Aspinall.
Curtis Blades gave Tom Aspinall a slight advantage in a hypothetical clash with John Jones, estimating his chances of winning at about 55%. While he leaned in favor of Aspinall, Blades was quick to admit that beating Jones would be no easy feat. He pointed out that Jones's extensive skill set, High fight IQ and wealth of championship-level experience make him an exceptionally tough opponent for anyone. In Blaydes' view, even with Aspinall's athleticism and current momentum, going up against Jones would push him to his absolute limit and represent the ultimate test of his fighting abilities.
I think Aspinall beats him.
Yeah, I would pick him. Like, I would go 55% him. Obviously, it's not going to be a landslide. Like, we're going against John Jones. He's a legend. He got all the weapons.
Coach Eric Nix recognized that Tom Aspinall's quick hand speed could provide a slight edge in a potential fight against John Jones. However, he emphasized that Jones remains one of the sport's best when it comes to hand control and managing distance. Nix pointed to Jones's tactical approach in his fight against Stipe Miocic, where Jones switched to a southpaw stance to neutralize Miocic's jab, forcing him to rely on his cross, which Jones skillfully anticipated and countered. He also shared that, in a recent conversation with Aspinall, they discussed the importance of preventing Jones from taking control in the mid-range, or B-range, where Jones is known for dictating the pace of the fight. Nix stressed that Aspinall would need to stay aggressive and keep up a high pace during these moments to avoid letting Jones slow things down and seize control, a tactic Jones often uses to wear down his opponents.
What advantages do you see that he has over John Bones Jones?
I think hand speed. But what John does very well, and what we saw in the Stipe fight, is John will occupy your hands. So Stipe is one of his best weapons is always his jab. So you saw John switch to southpaw, lead hand occupy, which left Stipe with one punch, which was cross. So he was timing the cross to pull off and then was adding on. So I think when you break that fight down, I actually talked to Tom on Monday. We were kind of going back and forth a little bit on some of the game planning things. You can't be in that B range and just kind of get snake charmed by John. Let him grab your hands, let him dictate the pace, let him dictate the rhythm. You have to be hyper aggressive in those positions, and I think that's what Tom would have to do in that fight.
Aljamain. Sterling expressed excitement about the possibility of a matchup between John Jones and Tom Aspinall, describing it as a thrilling battle between different fighting styles and generations. However, he admitted that it's tough to bet against Jones, largely because of his outstanding mental resilience and exceptional fight IQ. Sterling highlighted Jones's knack for adapting under pressure and outsmarting opponents, qualities that have helped him remain at the top of the sport for so long. While he acknowledged Aspinall's impressive athleticism and rising star status, Sterling pointed out that if Jones manages to bring the fight to the ground, his superior wrestling and control from the top could turn the tide, making it a challenging situation for Aspinall to escape.
It's a very intriguing fight. If I had to put money on it, it'd be super hard for me to bet against a guy like Jones, just because I know the mindset that he comes in with. Not saying Aspinall couldn't get it done because of all those physical gifts that he has. But dog, betting against a guy like that, if he gets you on the ground, that's just a bad.
Georges St-Pierre took time to reflect on John Jones's legacy, suggesting that Jones might be the greatest mixed martial artist the sport has ever seen. If he had to select one fighter in their prime to represent MMA in a one-on-one showdown, St-Pierre said Jones would be his top choice, citing Jones's exceptional versatility, adaptability, and dominance over multiple generations of fighters. While he praised Jones's remarkable abilities, St-Pierre also offered a grounded perspective, acknowledging that no athlete can escape the impact of aging. As dominant as Jones has been, St-Pierre stressed that time eventually catches up to everyone, and even the most legendary fighters face new challenges as their physical peak begins to decline.
Like John Jones, it's probably the best fighter that ever lives. Talk about if I have to choose someone in his prime that I put in the Coliseum hand to hand, I think I would be John Jones. It's hard to deny that.
Joe Rogan pointed out that John Jones is no stranger to dealing with fast opponents, referencing past matchups against fighters like Alexander Gustafsson and Lyoto Machida. He recalled how Machida's speed allowed him to land some clean shots early on, but also noted that there's a major difference between handling quickness at light heavyweight and going up against someone like Tom Aspinall. Rogan emphasized that Aspinall, weighing in at around 255 pounds, possesses a rare mix of speed and knockout power, something Jones hasn't quite faced before. While Jones has shown the ability to adapt against fast strikers in the past, Rogan suggested that Aspinall's combination of size, athleticism, and explosiveness could pose a uniquely dangerous threat unlike anything Jones has encountered in his career.
But John has been used to fighting guys like Alexander Gustafsson, guys who are really fast at light heavyweight. So the speed is not going to be as much of an adjustment. Like, John's used to really fast people. He fought Lyoto Machida when Machida was in his prime. Machida was a lightning bolt, man. And he caught John a bunch of times. But then there's the thing of getting caught by Lyoto Machida is not like getting caught by 255-pound Tom Aspinall.
As the boogeyman of mixed martial arts, a fighter who manages to find a way to win even when he's not performing at his peak. He pointed to Jones's first bout with Alexander Gustafsson as a clear example, noting that despite entering the fight underprepared, Jones was able to dig deep and pull out a win in the championship rounds. Rogan contrasted that with their rematch, where a fully focused and well-prepared Jones delivered a dominant performance, showcasing just how dangerous he can be when he's truly locked in. For Rogan, it's that ability to succeed under all kinds of circumstances that solidifies Jones's status as one of the sport's most iconic and formidable figures.
You're calling out John Jones, right? That's the boogeyman. Like, John Jones is the boogeyman. When he fought Gustafsson, he had almost no training camp. They said he barely showed up. Talked to Jackson about it, and Greg Jackson was like, he didn't even train for that fight. He pulled that fight off in the 4th and 5th rounds. That's when he really turned it up. So you're talking about a guy who hasn't even been training, and then you saw the real John Jones in the second fight. That's motivated John Jones.
Joe Rogan described John Jones. That wraps it up for today's video. What do you think about the potential clash between John Jones and Tom Aspinall? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more MMA breakdowns and updates. And before you go, check out some of our other videos on the screen now. Thanks for watching.